That's wonderful. A very good morning and a warm welcome to all our guests who are joining us here on Zoom. Thank you very much for taking the time. We are also live on Facebook. We are streaming live on Facebook for all those who are joining us from home, from wherever you are. This is the beauty of technology these days. You can be joining us from anywhere. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us. If you are actually watching us after the fact, you might have visited our YouTube. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us. Today, we are focusing on United General Insurance, where we are going to be talking about PI and FG. As we focus on PI and FG, we will be having a presentation in an effort to answer some of the questions that may be arising from what is PI and FG? How do you get covered for PI and FG? When is it necessary to get covered? How do you claim? We will have all those questions answered later on this morning. But before we do so, first things first, we would like to offer this program into the hands of the Lord, commit this program into the hands of the Lord. May I ask our colleague, Ms. Ngwenya, to please pray for us. Ms. Ngwenya, over to you.
Good morning, Mr. Bere. Ms. Ngwenya is still trying to connect. I will continue with the prayer. Father God, we thank you for your grace. We thank you for your mercy. We thank you, Lord Jesus Christ, for protecting us and guiding us up until this far. We pray for your grace to sustain us, oh God, as we are about to continue with this presentation. May everything go according to your plan and your will. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Thank you for the prayer, Ms. Lamini. My name is Witten Bere. I'll be your host today. We have a very straightforward program today, very sweet, short, and precise, just for about 1 hour. We'll start off with some welcome opening remarks, followed by an in-depth look into PI and FG, and then we'll have our closing remarks from our Chief Operations Officer, Mr. Mzingandlo, at the end of the program. For those who would like to send us some comments, questions, please do so on whatever platform you are on. If you are on Facebook, down there. If you have not been following us, if you have not liked us, please do so. If you are on Zoom, you can submit your questions as well on Zoom, or you can you can have an opportunity to ask your questions live later on in the question and answer section. So please do send those questions. To send those comments. We want to have a look at them. So before I call on the first speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to just recognize our senior management, starting with our Executive Director, Mr. Philip Souza, our Technical Advisor, Mr. Zomboze Magagula, as well as our Chief Operations Officer, Mr. Mzingandlo. I want also to recognize our senior management, or the general managers who may be here present, our management team, as well as our operations managers, and most of all, and more importantly so, our engine room, composed of our champions. We also would like to thank all the guests who have managed to join us today on Zoom. Thank you very much for taking that time. So to get straight on to the business, our opening remarks, the task of our offering our opening remarks has been appointed to Mr. Sakile Zwane, who is our GM Operations. Mr. Zwane, good morning.
Good morning, Witten. Thank you to everyone for taking the time to this meeting.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Zwane, for taking the time to be with us and to do our opening remarks.
Thank you once again. Witten, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for making time to this meeting. We do note that you've got busy schedules. We don't take this lightly. We really appreciate it. As most members will be aware that UGI is an insurance company duly authorized by the Financial Services Regulatory Authority, the FSRA, as a short-term insurance company offering a wide range of insurance products, some of which include fidelity guarantee and professional indemnity, which is why we are here today. So when we started UGI a couple of years back, we technically had one product, which was the legal product, which caters for a person's legal fees or insured person's legal fees should they get into trouble. And over the years, the UGI has grown to be a fully fledged insurance company. We've added more and more products into our portfolio, including private and commercial motor insurance, householders insurance, fire, engineering, bonds and guarantees, and several other types of or classes of insurance, including medical malpractice, which we launched not so long ago. However, this morning is all about professional indemnity, which should be the topic of discussion, and which should be presented by my colleague, the operations manager for United General Insurance, Mr. Patrick Damedze. I would therefore invite all members to use all the available platforms which Mr. Bere has described to ask as many questions as possible, as we want to make this an interactive session so that everyone gets the gist of what you're offering to the market, the community, and the country at large. For the moment, I'd want to affirm that UGI is a open book insurance company. We're not a fine print insurance company. Therefore, we're having these sessions whereby you get to interact with the community. Welcome once again, trusting that you will enjoy this session. Thank you, Mr. Bere, back to you.
Guru, sharing the platform with Mr. Damedze, who is the operations manager for United General Insurance. So learn more about insurance. Do not miss that opportunity tomorrow at 6 p.m. sharp. Now, I would like us to move on to discussing PI and FG. Mr. Damedze. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Bere. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invite and thank you, nice for participating.
It's always a pleasure, Mr. Damedze. Mr. Damedze is a veteran in insurance with almost 25 years of experience. If I'm not mistaken, it could be more. But also, he's a golfer. He loves his golf. Mr. Damedze, there's something happening. Whilst other companies have stopped supporting sports because of COVID and other reasons, United General has continued to support golf. And there's something happening, something interesting on Friday. Would you like to speak about that before you start the PI and FG?
Thank you, Mr. Bere. It is one of those positive strides that we are doing as United General. Being new entrants in the insurance industry, yes, it is 2 years, but we still take ourselves as a relatively new company. So definitely we have to use every platform that is made available for us so that we can promote this genuine brand. Yes, every Friday we do play golf because golf is one of the busiest networking platforms that we can basically utilize. This is where you get fellow business colleagues and major players in the business space. And every Friday they come together for a quick 9-hole where we then interact and also are able to interlink for any business opportunity as far as insurance is concerned. So yes, we are excited, COVID or no COVID. We just ensure that we do adhere to regulations of COVID-19 as per the Minister of Health and the team. Thank you, Mr. Berry.
Most welcome, Mr. Gameza. I will not keep you any longer on these other issues. We are here today to listen to you talk about PI and FG. Would you please take us through?
Thank you once again, Mr. Berry, and thank you to all those that have allowed us to participate during the busy schedule that we know the normal people have these days. And coming here to speak about professional indemnity. As United General Insurance, I think one of the major strides again that we've done is to try and be relevant to the market, especially the insurance market. So we are not actually launching the product, but we are activating this product because apparently a lot of people never get to understand or appreciate that as United General, we're a fully fledged company, hence providing all the expertise and all the available products that could possibly be available in the market. So today, we are proud once again to come and speak about one of our specialty products, which is the Professional Indemnity and Fidelity Guarantee. Basically, the Professional Indemnity Insurance, for us, it's basically your professional cover. Others will know it as a professional liability insurance. It basically protects you against any failure to exercise reasonable skill and care in the provision of professional or advisory services. You will note that most of the businesses around, whenever, let's say, it could be a construction associate, it could be an engineer, it could be an insurance company, it could be an insurance broker, it could be a doctor, it could be a lawyer practice. As long as they are offering professional services, they definitely will need to take up insurance cover, which is the professional loan. So professional indemnity, in simpler terms, it will cover against professional negligence. So professional negligence, it's when you make an error while doing a piece of work for a particular client. And this could be in the form of, it could be a loss of, I'll take for instance, maybe you are just a business consultant and you are developing a strategy for a business. You've been given a lot of data and old documents, and you lose any or all the data that you've been provided with. That's professional indemnity. Professional indemnity has to kick in. That's loss of document. It could be loss of money or goods that you are holding on behalf of a client. It could be a defamation or what you call libel and slander. That could be a professional indemnity claim. Also, it could be a breach of copyright of confidentiality. We have noted, Mr. Berry, that a lot of businesses, now and again, when they have to declare or disclose certain level of information with either a service provider or a prospective service provider, they always want to sign what you call confidentiality agreements. But you never get to have an appreciation that, yes, if this person then does not hold that data or information as prescribed in that confidentiality agreement, what then happens? Does anyone, is that particular service provider in a position to compensate you for the loss of that or for the breach of the agreement? So this is why other forums, they will always say, if you sign a confidentiality agreement, you definitely have to declare that you have taken up what you call professional indemnity insurance, because that's the only reason and only way that will enable you to compensate the particular principal if anything goes wrong. So in other terms, because you can probably define professional indemnity in many aspects. So it could also just simply mean a commercial policy, which is designed to protect the business owners and freelancers. And it also could be self-employed if clients claim a service is inadequate. No matter how hard you try as a professional, you might find that the receiver or the client believes that you are a bit inefficient and the quality product is basically not what he's been looking for. So any organization which provides professional services or gives advice could be sued if the recipient is unhappy with their work. So this is how critical it is to have this. So professional indemnity will obviously pay any legal cost which would be incurred in defending the allegations and pay damages arising from any judgment, award, or settlement. You will have an appreciation once again to say, we will not just because we have professional indemnity, just getting instruction now, there's been a judgment, you have to settle an award, whatever. We will also participate at the beginning of the conflict where you will be served with the necessary papers where you'll be charged for professional misconduct, whatever. And this is where then we will also engage in as far as legal consultations will be advised. At certain times or at certain levels, we find that just the legal engagements outside courts will then enable these disputes to be settled out of court. But however, if they do go into a court of law, there could be a judgment, and the judgments could be anything. It could run into millions of emalangeni. It could be a minimum charge, whatever. So these amounts would then have to be settled by the professional indemnity policy. And as we've already mentioned, many professions are required to purchase professional indemnity as a regulatory requirement and to meet contractual conditions. So this is, as I already mentioned, that you basically, as long as you are providing professional advice, you need to take a PI. So PI should be considered for any organization where advice, professional or technical services are offered to a client to cover yourselves. I know that others will always say, hey, you know, how many cases have we had where professional misconduct was interpreted? It might happen rarely, but when it does happen, it could be a catastrophic claim that you might be facing. So a professional service is a service that is intangible, that is offered by persons setting their skills and specialist knowledge based on their experience or qualification. So this is why at the later part of the presentation, we'll also do a quick consideration of the requirements for you to take up professional indemnity. So this is the reason why such people are relied upon as being experts in their fields and hold a greater level of knowledge and specialism in the subject matter than just the average person. So you can't just take professional indemnity for just, you know, an unqualified profession, or if you call it a profession, or down the line. So just a quick example again of professional indemnity claims. So one of them would be professional indemnity claims are made by nature low occurrence, but high in severity. So like I've already mentioned, they could happen really, but when they do happen, it could be disaster for a client. A potential claim can have significant financial consequences if you are unfortunate enough to become the target of an allegation. We've seen currently what's happening either in the political space or in the business space. Other big companies that will compete by, you know, stealing data, stealing information from a competitor, and in that dispute, there could be allegations which will need not to be truthful by nature, but for you to ascertain or confirm that that allegation is untrue, you might have already gone through a lot of stress and a lot of image damaging error. And then you also have to ensure that you know or you understand how much professional indemnity you should buy. This is all dependent on the side of contracts that you might have to undertake as a business or as a professional individual. So your potential financial exposure that you are exposed to, that could be your professional indemnity. However, you can imagine if you are doing you are an architectural designer, and you are the architect of the biggest in Swaziland, which is the ICC construction project. And that amount on its own could come into millions and millions of emalangeni, and hence that means you might have to buy an equivalent of that contract. So not necessarily so, but you try to maximize on minimizing the exposure by buying professional indemnity just in case anything happens. It is worth also considering that defense costs on average might amount to over half the total cost of a PI insurance claim. So obviously we're saying one thing is it is very rare that people will just take up a case or sue a company or a business for minimum fees. Say, for instance, if you want to take a company for professional misconduct, you can't just go for a 50,000 worth of a claim. Obviously, it will have to come in larger numbers. And if it comes in larger numbers, obviously, the expertise that you need to take for mitigatory response would have to cost you an arm and a leg. This is why we're saying most of the time, the legal costs that come up with professional indemnity claims can be very high. And this is why I'm saying most of the time they could be equivalent to over half the total cost of the PI itself. So you have to make a decision if you're taking up a company to task in as far as professional indemnity is concerned. You really have to quantify and qualify what will be the end result, because most of the money might be being paid to legal consultants or the defense counsel, and eventually what you get will be peanuts. So you look at all the four. So obviously, the documents that we want to be provided with for us to run a quote and also do an estimate. The first one would be a company profile if it's a company. It would be a CV if it's just a single consultant who's running a consultancy service. We'd also want an organizational structure of the operation, showing all the key positions within the business, because that enables us to see if there could be any positions that would be exposed in terms of inefficiencies or anything associated with professional misconduct. And then we'd also request for CVs of the key personnel in the structure outside of the directorship structure. And then we also want latest audited financial statements. Then if there's any loss history, which means any claims experiences, and has the establishment of the individual been exposed to any previous claims, because that again tells us who we're dealing with and how far can we go in terms of discounting any rating that we want to take. And the last document that we want is completed proposal form. These documents then will then enable us to do what you call underwriting, which underwriting is basically where we sit as underwriters to qualify the application or the applicant, to enable us to decide on what could be our position in as far as the premium calculation or the rating structure that would utilize for this particular client. So this is how far we can go to in terms of that information will then give us a tentative rating structure. Our current rating based on the market and market performance and what we are basically dealing with currently, it's between 0.1% and 1%. So it all varies depending on the documents that have been. The experiences, because this is professional indemnity, the experiences of people that will be involved in the transaction is very much important. So this is why the qualifications do matter, and also how much exposed they've been in the past or previous years. So that would be it. Mr. Berry, I don't know whether you want to have a bit of interaction before we go to the other. I might have been too fast, but we just want to ensure that we don't hold our audience for too long. Mr. Berry, I seek your guidance.
Thank you, Mr. Gamedza. I think unless there are some questions that have already been shared with Simpiwe. Simpiwe, can you confirm any questions on PI so far?
No, we don't have any questions yet, Mr. Berry.
May I therefore suggest, Mr. Gamedza, that we proceed with FG and then we can take all the questions at the end.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Berry. Okay, so the next product is basically our Fidelity Guarantee Insurance Policy. Our fidelity guarantee insurance policy, mainly it covers, we've got what you call defined events, which is the first one would be a loss of money. This cover will cover loss of money and or other property which belongs to the insured or for which they are responsible, stolen by an insured employee during the currency of this section. When we say the currency of this section, it means the existence or the activation of this policy. So defined events would also attract what you call direct financial loss, which is sustained by the insured as a result of fraud or dishonesty of an insured employee, all of which occurs during the currency of this section, which results in dishonest personal financial gain for the employee concerned. However, provided that the company is not liable for all losses which occurred more than 24 months prior to discovery. This is what we call our prescription period. So from the two that we just seen, it says it mostly covers an act of dishonesty by the people that we employ to conduct business on our behalf as business owners. So mostly what we've noted is that there is another cover that's normally taken by either courier services or companies that are in the transportation of goods. It could be across the border or locally, where they will take what you call goods in transit. A goods transit policy will normally not cover collusion by the employee. So you find that you have a goods in transit and you insure the goods, you're transporting sugar to the South African market. And along the way, the truck gets lost, it's hijacked, the entire load is taken. And by virtue of that having happened, we instruct an assessor. And indirectly, we find that there has been a collusion. The truck was just not taken. It was a pre-arranged arrangement that he will, he has surrendered the truck to certain so-called hijackers, who do not literally exist, but this has been an arrangement. So by the fact that the driver himself was a participant in the disappearance of the load and the truck, that would be what we call collusion. So in a normal goods in transit claim, that will not be covered. So this is why we always invite or encourage clients to then take as an alternative to take up what you call a fidelity guarantee. Then collusion will be covered under that. So the defined events again is all losses which are discovered no later than 12 months, which is the prescribed period. The maximum was 24 months, but we're saying the losses must not be recovered beyond a period of 12 months. From the termination of this section, which means this policy, you find that this policy runs for a period of 12 months. And after 12 months, you find that there is still a claim that had not been picked up or been reported. That claim could still be entertained beyond that termination of the policy, but not beyond a period of 12 months from the termination of the cover. So this section again is in respect of an insured employee concerned in a loss, and the employment of the insured employee or the last of the insured employees concerned in a loss. So the employee must still be there, but if the employee's employment is terminated, that discovery must be made within a period of 12 months from the date of termination of that agreement or the employment of that particular employee. You can't just come in and report that Patrick Kamete, who was an employee, had taken money or has misplaced or misappropriated funds belonging to the business, whereas he was terminated or he resigned 15 months ago. That will mean then the prescription period has elapsed. And then the other type of cover under your fidelity guarantee would be what you call the blanket on a blanket basis. So this one means the liability of the company for all losses shall not exceed the sum insured stated in the schedule, whether involving any one employee or any number of employees acting in collusion and independently of each other. So it means when you take up the limit of indemnity or the cover, you have to decide if you're taking it for, let's say, $500,000. It means all your employees, if there's anything that happened, if there's any loss that you are subjected to, we can only pay up to a $500,000. So it could be only one claim to the tune of 500,000. It means you have utilized the entire cover. It could be a number of employees within the business who were acting in collusion. That exposure, we can only pay up to 500,000 emalangeni. So this is why it is very critical to always have an appreciation or understand the extent of exposure that you are exposed to as a business for any. So the number of employees would come into play. You need to know how many employees you got and all the others and what they do. The other alternative, if you do not want to take the blanket cover, it could be on the name or position basis. So here we're saying you will give us the names of the employees that you want to be covered. It could be not names, it could be the positions that the employees hold. I'll take, for instance, it could be Patrick Kamete, or it could be cashiers in a business in a business environment. So if it's a named person, so if Patrick Kamete commits a fraudulent act, that could be covered. But if it's just a position to say, I have insured, I've got 5 positions, I've got 2 cashiers, I've got a 2 cashier supervisor, I've got a collection supervisor. Those are the people that come in contact with monies in the business. So any one of those will be, even if that person has been replaced, there's other one that takes the same position that could be covered. But if it was a named person, if that person ceases to be with the business, you need to update the record so that Patrick Kamete is replaced by the new person that has been taken through. So the liability of the company for all losses involving any employee shall not exceed the sum insured set opposite his name, because it will be Patrick Kamete insured for, say, is exposed to 500,000. It would be chief accountant exposed to a tune of, say, 1 million emalangeni. So those would be the sum insured. They may not be uniform, but they will always be relevant. So I believe that's it mostly. And obviously, every insurance cover comes with specific exceptions, and because you have to restrict the exposure. Because if an insurance company doesn't have a limited, doesn't only assume limited liability, it means that company with just one claim, they could go under. And the complication of the perils that could come with such covers could be much complicated, and hence you have to clearly define this. So the company shall not be liable for, first one would be loss or damage resulting from or contributed to by an undefined or any defined event, which is by any partner in or of the insured to the extent that such partner would benefit by indemnity granted under this policy. So for instance, you can't just insure a business partner under this section, because then it means once we pay the claim, the same person who you are taking to task or you're suing, you can't just get rid of. He will continue to benefit from the monies that will be received from such a claim. Any principal director or member of the insurer, unless such director or member is also an employee. Directorship structures, they vary from business to business. Other directors might not be executive directors. They might not be in any executive position. They'll just be shareholders or directors. So this one speaks to the capacities of employees. And the other one will be any employee from the time the insured shall become aware that such employee has committed any fraud or dishonesty. So the duty of disclosure, which is very critical in any insurance contract, prevails here. So we say you must always disclose to the insurer if any of the employed persons or the insured persons, if they've been named, has previously had or committed any fraudulent act or an act of dishonesty, so that when we do our underwriting or qualification of the risk, we can take that into perspective. The last one is any consequential losses of any kind following losses referred to under defined effects. So any consequential losses would be would also not be covered following an accident or an incident. The company shall also not be liable for any defined events if it is a result of dishonest, by manipulation, by suppression of input into, or input into, or the destruction of, or the alteration of any computer program system data. So these are people that are working in the IT department. Because these people, if a company is conversant with the IT securities, you always have your limited access, which is the major control that you could basically use. So we're saying if this employee works for the IT department and then he decides to steal data, this is an exposure. It means that your systems are not up to scratch and your controls are not up to date. So we will not provide cover for that, because you should have disclosed that, and any limited exposure should have been indicated. This is why when we want the company profile and the departmental structure, it is because we want to pick if there are any gaps in terms of information sharing or controls in as far as access to certain files or certain parameters of your system in general. But this exception does not apply to insured employees who are employed in the electronic data processing department area, if any of any non-networked micropersonal computers. So those would be your small companies where, let's say, it's just a small company that has a small turnover and they do not have a big network where someone can basically intrude via the communicator network structures. So the company will also not be liable to the extent of the participation or shareholding of any involved partner or principal or directors, or any members of an insured event in which any partner or principal or director or member of the insured has been directly involved. This specific exception only applies to partnerships, PTY Ltd companies, or closed corporations, because indirectly they will be benefiting in that transaction. So the basis of the Sum Insured, for us to qualify the risk and give you a rating, we will be looking at a cash handling authority given to the employee, which is why the issue of access to certain parameters of the system that is provided by the business is very critical. And then the dues of the employee to the company. This will be inclusive again to how they are paid, how much are they paid, because if, for instance, if you have a cashier that is paid way, below the stipulated employment remuneration structure by the labor department, we're saying that employee, one way or the other, he or she will be tempted to steal one time. So we're saying that kind of exposure. So we will pick that when you do a declaration or when you make a declaration in as far as this. And one of the special conditions, the insured shall institute and maintain and continue to employ in every material manner all such systems of checks and controls, accounting and clerical procedures, and methods of conducting his business, as has been represented to the company by the insured. But the insured may also change the remuneration conditions of any of the employees. Alterations on remuneration could be made in any time. So it doesn't mean that you have declared to us that Patrick Ameta is earning 10 Malangeni per hour. If that there is any variation on that, you will send a disclosure, which is then we will then apply an endorsement. So the cover will still be in existence. The other one is in respect of any employee who is describing the schedule by name, change his duties and position. So you have to make sure if there's any staff movement, Patrick Ameta moves from his role of being a cashier to a role of being a cash office advisor or supervisor. You have to note this, because this is a material change which we need to be alerted of, or in respect of any employee who's describing the schedule only by position held by him, remove such employee and place in his position any other person who falls within the definition of employee. The last one will be make such other changes or are approved beforehand in writing by the insured auditors. So again, the requirements here will also require again a company profile, and then we want to know who the company directors are. So in the form of forms C and J, and then we also need the audited financial statements and the number of employees and their occupations. Those are the employees that will be covered within the business. And then proof of premises, because we want to know where our main risk is basically situated. And then the loss history, you have the duty to disclose every time. You need to tell us if you've been exposed to such a risk. Have you ever submitted any claim with any insurer, either in the past 3 years or past 5 years? And then the last one would be a completed proposal form. Those will be your key requirements. And then our rating structure again will be these are just indicators. When we do our underwriting, we then give you the specific rates, but currently we're working between 4% and 8%. At times we can go to 3%, at times we can go to 9%. But this is just a guide of the sub-insured. So if you're taking up cover for 500,000, it will be 500,000 times 4%. That will be our rating structure. Thank you once again for your indulgence, and much appreciated to be taken through. And I hope that I will have a couple of questions to ensure that everyone was participating actively. Thank you once again. Over to you, Mr. Barry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. That was a mouthful and possibly a bit much for somebody to comprehend everything in one time. You will be available to take calls or even visit customers who want to be taken through. Hi, Patrick.
Hi, sorry, Mr. Barrett, I missed that.
I was saying you would be available if a customer requests that you come and take them through. This is quite a bit, it might not be easy for all of us to comprehend everything in such a short period.
Yes, thanks. Actually, today is just to trigger interest. Otherwise, we are on the ground any day, anytime. We just have to connect with us and contact us on any of the numbers that will be provided later, so that we can then come and do a formal presentation with a team or an individual. We'd much appreciate that service today.
Certainly, viewers, we will be sharing with you our contact details in detail just in a moment. But first, let's look at the questions that are available. Simpiwe, any questions?
Yes, we do have a question, Mr. Barry, that was posted on LinkedIn from Mr. Dlamini Vuyiso. His question is based on the PI&FG product. The question goes as per the requirements for the PI policy, what if the service provider is new, there is no loss history and audited financial statements? Can he be considered for PI?
Yes, thank you, Simpiwe. We definitely do that. These are your basic requirements, but at times when we sit and discuss with the client, others are new businesses. But being a new business doesn't mean that you cannot be exposed. So the CVs will come into play. We'll do a consideration on the CVs. Then we'll check on the experiences of those individuals that will also be involved in the business. So with or without, one document might not be available, but we are still going to consider an application on that.
Thank you for that response. I hope Mr. Dlamini Vuyiso is satisfied with that answer. Any other questions?
Not yet, Mr. Barry. May I check on Facebook for now?
Please do. Mr. Gamedze, I am a loan consultant. I consult here and there. I'm not an organization. Can I be covered?
You are just an individual.
Yeah, but I do offer consultancy services privately.
Precisely, you are a prospective client. We can definitely give you a PI cover. We said anyone and everyone that does offer professional advice or a professional service could possibly, could be eligible to take up professional indemnity.
So it doesn't have to be an organization, it can be an
individual. It doesn't have to be an organization.
Capacity, I can come to United General and ask to be covered, and I will be covered.
We already have a number of individuals that have taken up the cover for certain projects, because even if some are actually required when they do they go through the tendering process, they want a confirmation that you will be getting PI, and immediately once you've been granted, because at times consultancies are not only done by establishments. They could be done by they could engage just a consultant like yourself, an individual.
The funny thing about insurance, Mr. Gamete, that I have learned over the years is that it becomes paramount after you have had a major loss or a major catastrophe or something like that, and you realize suddenly that, hey, I should have taken insurance. It will be so unfortunate that some of members in our community organization should face the same or go through such an experience after we have presented this to them.
That's very true, Mr. Berry. We've noted, because most of the time, yes, people come running. It's just as simple as insuring a car. Until you have an accident, it doesn't come and it doesn't come to say, yes, let me take a bit of money and buy insurance. Once you have an accident, and because an accident will not wait until it's the 30th when you get paid. We are always broke when we have these accidents, and we have to foot the bill. So even this professional indemnity covers, it's the same thing. Like I said, they might be happening rarely, but when they do happen, it's a huge problem. So yes, you must not wait until you basically have a claim coming your way. And this is why, Mr. Berry, interestingly, professional indemnity, you can then break it down. We have on the sideways what you call medical malpractice. Medical malpractice is a professional indemnity that has been been made for medical practitioners. And engineers, they also have their own specific professional indemnity, which looks into engineers. And you'd have others, which will then zero down and give them a specific product. This is because we've seen their understandings are quite different. And if you log them on together, they always take up.
Indeed, we did launch medical malpractice products at the back end of last year. And if you're in the medical profession and you do not have medical malpractice cover, I think you need to come and see Mr. Gamete. Thank you, Mr. Gamete. Simpiwe, any more questions on your side?
Thank you, Mr. Berry. There's a question here. Do I need professional indemnity insurance if I work from home?
Yes, you still do, but it depends what kind of work you do at home. If you are a professional, you are a qualified professional, and the kind of work that you do falls within the identified areas of professional indemnity, you can definitely. I think what we said is we wanted, one of the requirements was the physical location or address, that irregardless of either it's your house or home, or most consultants these days, they basically prefer working from home. And because, with technology and thanks on the sideways to COVID, who has also taught us that working from home can be equally productive as going to an office. So yes, we can take up.
Mr. Gamete, there is a growing area where, or a growing tendency by professionals to work across the globe. I mean, boundaries are no longer respected. I could be stationed here in Swaziland, but consulting in Kenya, consulting in Europe. Am I covered in those jurisdictions?
Okay, thank you. Our jurisdiction is in the southern part of the hemisphere currently, because mainly it is in Swaziland. Because if you go broader, it means that you now have to do a conversion. The 500,000 cover that you might have taken will basically be not enough in the UK, because now you have to convert. So we are going to be using our local currency, hence even the jurisdiction and the courts that we are basically utilizing. It is the High Court of Swaziland. So it must be within here. If someone wants to claim, he must be able to claim in Swatini.
Okay. No, I think that is quite clear. Simpuya, any more from your end?
Yes, Mr. Bear. We have another question. Is professional indemnity insurance required by law?
As mentioned, Simpiwe, other professions, they command or they demand that you cannot practice before you have a professional indemnity. For instance, in the South African market, a lot of civil engineers or electrical engineers in the construction sector, they will demand that you have that. Even doctors, they will demand that you, before you go for an operation. In Swaziland, it's because this kind of covers have not been. But now, as you're seeing the developments that are going on, now you have a regulator of insurance, which was non-existent years ago. And now you have a regulated industry of manufacturers and other service providers. You have an telecommunications regulator. Those are the entities that we hope they will then demand that people do not practice within those professions without this command. Going forward, we know that those are the interesting developments that will be taking place. But currently, there is no standing law that's demanding that.
So in most cases, it depends on the profession that you are, and it may be a board that requires that you are covered under PI.
Yes. It may also be the principal that that's engaging you as a consultant for that particular job that would demand, before we give you this, let us have your professional indemnity.
No, that's quite clear. I see simply we have another question from Zika Lamini. The question is simple: excess applicable under PI. I suppose is there excess applicable under PI?
Yes, we have excesses, obviously, but the excesses are not uniform. So when we do once we've received all the necessary documents that we need for us to activate cover or to run a code, it is only then that we will then prescribe certain limits or certain excesses within the policy. They don't come uniform.
Mm-hmm. I hope Zika, you are answered. Simply, I'm looking at the time. We have barely 8 minutes left. I would like, unless if there are other pressing questions, to invite our Chief Operations Officer, Mr. Mzingaindo, to come over and give us our closing remarks.
May I request those that may have questions and those that have posed questions on the other platforms to actually continue sending them through. We'll address them separately in the interest of time, Mr. Fair.
Thank you very much, Simpiwe. Thank you, Mr. Gamedze. This has been very informative. I'm happy that tomorrow I will be having you again on talking legal insurance. I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you, Mr. Behere. Thanks once again. And I hope this was we will be getting calls from members of the public for us to come and do a number of codes on the provided covers. Thank you.
Most definitely. At this point in time, I would like to invite our Chief Operations Officer, Mr. Mzingaindo, to give us our closing remarks. Mr. Ndlovu, good morning, sir.
A very good morning to you, Program Director, Mr. Pere. Please do confirm that you can hear me.
We can hear you clearly. I'm not so sure that we have your video on. Oh, there you are. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Program Director. I wanted this moment to welcome our viewers, warm welcome from United Holdings, our viewers as well as the overall audience. We thank you for joining the Professional Indemnity and Fidelity Guarantee Insurance session that we have had this morning. Thank you to the presenters. It's a great pleasure having you join us from your different platforms, be it on YouTube, on LinkedIn, as well as Facebook. We thank you for taking interest in the presentation, and we assure you that everything that you have said, that you have communicated to us, we take it seriously. We use it as part of our development. And as United Holdings Limited, we realize the need to come up with groundbreaking and innovative solutions. This we do through taking clients' feedback as the main driver of our product development cycle to ensure that we provide not only good products, but the right products for the market. We are therefore very excited to be presenting these products as one of the essential insurance products which professionals should have in place. No matter the profession that you are in, everyone is prone to mistakes, hence the need to have someone cover you should the mistakes bring you some litigation. We have had the advent of COVID-19, which has affected everyone, including the different professions, be it solicitors, be it accountants, whatever profession, medical practitioners. And as United General Insurance, we want to highlight that we want to give you comfort despite the pandemic. We want to work with you. We want to be with you all the step of the way. And we do that by making sure that you are protected as you go around doing your business. We want to be with you all the step of the way. The future is unpredictable, and we may not guarantee you that future, but we certainly can give you comfort in that we can secure your future. We are with you every step of the way. And my closing remarks are to say, don't just be a professional, but be professionally wise by taking up professional indemnity as well as fidelity guarantee, so your business can continue without any worries about litigation. Thank you very much, Program Director. We look forward to getting our clients interacting with us, continuing to speak to us as we continue in this journey of developing exciting products that meet the demands, products that are a solution to what our clients are looking forward to having. It's been an exciting session for me, and thank you to Mr. Kamete for explaining these two products, these liability covers. We are excited to be joining with our customers digitally, and we look forward to more similar interactions where we can speak to our clients at the comfort of their homes, at the comfort of their offices, some while they are driving. Thank you very much, Program Director. Back to you.
Thank you very much to our COO, Mr. Mzingaye Ndlovu. Indeed, don't just be a professional, but be a wise professional who is covered by professional indemnity and fidelity guarantee covers. And you can get those from us, from United General Insurance. And for our contact details, please, you can reach us on a toll-free number 800-1010 800-1010, or you can use your WhatsApp. It's cheap. WhatsApp number is 7808-8050. I'll take that again, 7808-8050. You can also reach us on our website, which is www.united.co.az, www.united.co.az. You can also reach us on many of the social media platforms. We are on LinkedIn, we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are almost everywhere. Please do reach out and pose your questions there. We will ensure that we respond to all the questions. I hope this has been informative for our viewers. We thank you for taking the time to be with us. We have run out of time, but any questions that should follow, they be guaranteed they will be responded to. They'll be passed on to the relevant experts. I am inviting you to join us tomorrow for the insurance scoop at 6 p.m. tomorrow, where we will be talking legal insurance. Again, another United General Insurance product. It has been a pleasure being your host. Thank you very much. I look forward to our next interaction. Have a pleasant day. Goodbye.